you all for this lecture on electronic thermal management. In this topic, we are going to stick to the history of semiconductors. What are all the recent trends in semiconductors? What role do they play? Why we are really studying it? What is the need for the study of semiconductors? Like what are effects they are going to cause? Right? So moving into our lecture directly. You consider our day-to-day activities, like morning, from the time that we get up from our bed. So what we do, we just refresh. We'd like to brew a cup of coffee, then might be toast some sandwiches with a couple of eggs, and then you'll have to watch your TV for your daily news, and then get into your routine work, some amount of exercise, move on to your gym, and then you get back to your home using your car or something. So for all these activities, when you watch keenly, you will understand that some electrical or electronic gadgets are definitely involved. We are not able to spend our life without these equipments, right? So morning, that is, be it you are going to operate an AC or a refrigerator, you need a remote control. If it's in a car, it's going to be either automated or semi-automated. For brewing a cup of coffee, you need your coffee maker. For your sandwiches, you use your toaster or an electric gas stove. So there are so many equipments that we are dealing with in day-to-day life, right? So coming to this transition in electronic devices, we notice that all these electronic equipments, they have some inbuilt small components which are not directly visual. We are not viewing it visually. Directly it is not known to us, but still they are all the hidden components. For example, the transistors, capacitors, inductors, transformers and resistors. So these electronic equipments are interconnected with each other, and we definitely need an electric circuit. There is an electric current to flow across it, right? So the power that will be generated, which is useful for us. When I say power is generated, simultaneously heat is also generated in the equipment, right? You take a normal phone to your tablet or to your desktop computer, definitely heat will be generated. So this heat has to be safely dissipated to the environment, else it is going to be an issue, right? So that is going, if it is not dissipated to the environment, it will bring down the life of the gadget. So that is why we notice that most of the time, whenever a gadget that is being sold in the market and we are buying it, say the warranty period is 2 years or 3 years, but we come across issues with the same gadget within the warranty period, and we are not able to get it returned or replaced if there is a heat issue, right? So the main aspect or the importance is we have to maintain the heat or the temperature conditions within the gadget. In other words, it has to be safely sent out to the environment. Now you can see this Joule's law, P equals I square R. We are very well aware of this Joule's law right from our first year of BTech. So this I represents a DC current. If it is a DC current directly, you will take the value. If it is an alternating current, you will take the RMS value, right? And R stands for resistance. So this much of heat will be definitely generated and it has to be sent out. So whenever I say heat dissipation in the transistors, three conditions can be taken. The first one is during the switching on and switching off. Heat generated during the switch on, switch off condition. The second one is dynamic short circuit. Whenever there is a short circuit, at that time also there will be heat losses. And the last is leakage current losses. There will be some current losses which are not accounted with the main part. So these are the three possibilities. Now coming to the history of the components in the electronic circuits. We directly haven't jumped to the semiconductor. So let's see what is the history. Initially, the computers were run using vacuum tubes only. But why we have skipped the vacuum tube? Why have we advanced to the next level? The reason is vacuum tubes, they were not that efficient. In other words, they were consuming a lot of electrical energy, and that energy is again wasted as heat. And the next is life expectancy was very short. So any component you take will be worried about the efficiency and the amount of power consumption. So both are not favorable in this case, and we have moved on to the next level of invention, that is called as the transistors. So in earlier days when the vacuum tubes are used, you would have come across cases where the people working on computers had to shift their entire station to some other room, and if there is a query or some problem with the vacuum tube, so they have to replace. So those things were found to be too much of disadvantages for them, and then we had this transistors invention. So this had actually beaten up with the disadvantages of vacuum tubes, it was better, more efficient than the vacuum tubes, and they consumed less amount of electrical energy compared to that of vacuum tubes. So we were using these transistors, and these transistors were also liberating less amount of heat, right? So this amount of heat, even if it is not dissipated outside, it was not an issue, right? So the next is the early electronic circuits which were framed using these transistors, that was implemented. But the main difference is, in these early electronic circuits, only few transistors were used, otherwise few capacitors were used, right? Later when we went for hybrid architecture, okay, so advanced equipments, in such cases many number of transistors were used. So the semiconductor manufacturing process has actually advanced, and there are so many electronic chips in that. When I say so many electronic chips, the transistor density has increased, that is the number of transistors used has increased, whereas the size of the transistor has decreased, right? So that is how we finally arrived at the semiconductor. So there were so many integrated circuits, and these integrated circuits in our electronic gadgets, right? So here again, to add on to the history of this semiconductor industry, here we can see the Moore's law. Under Moore's law, I'll state what is meant by Moore's law. That is, for every 2 years, say it's 2000, so the next to 2002, you will notice that the number of transistors which was used in 2000 has actually doubled. Okay, now for example, you can see here the year of production, and this is the number of transistors in the y-axis. Say you are considering this 1975. Here you can see that the transistors were 10,000. So in 77, you will notice that the number of transistors has become 20,000, just the double of the previous year. Okay, that is 2 years before. So this is what's stated by the Moore's law. So keeping this Moore's law in mind, the National Technology Roadmap for Semiconductors was framed initially. Okay, and keeping this as the base, again the International Technology Roadmap for Semiconductors was also framed. So now we are no longer referring to this, now we are referring to this only, this International Technology Roadmap for Semiconductors. Okay. Now, there are two important parameters that will help you understand the configuration of the semiconductor. The first one is feature size, and the second one is transistor density. When I say feature size, it is nothing but the minimum size of the transistor that can be placed in a semiconductor. So that is called as feature size. So it is expressed in nanometer. The smallest size of the transistor, that is the possible smallest size which can be placed inside a semiconductor. So that is called as feature size. It is expressed in nanometer. The second one is transistor density. That is, I told you, in the recent semiconductors there are so many transistors which can be placed. So increase in number of transistors. So how many transistors are placed? So that is called as transistor density. That is usually mentioned in millions per square centimeter. Okay, so per unit area it has been taken. Now I will show you two graphs for these two definitions. The first graph is, here you notice that the transistor density against the year of production. As we keep on advancing in the years, you notice that the density is increasing, which means more number of transistors are used. Okay. Coming to the feature size, again as the year of production keeps increasing, the size of the transistor keeps decreasing. Can you see? Either be the ITRS or the NTRS, not an issue. And being whichever year it is, 2001, 3, 5 and 7, you will notice that there is a constant decrease in the feature size of the transistors. The next is called as the switching power. So switching power means how much of power is consumed in the chip level. We are not talking about the equipment level. Now we are scaling down to the chip level. So the switching power consumption of a chip is defined by this equation, that is F into V square. So whatever switching power you are going to calculate will be directly proportional to F into V square, where F is nothing but the frequency, right? And V is the voltage. So how these two are going to influence this? You very well know they are directly related. So whenever you increase the switching power frequency, this power will also increase. When you increase the voltage, it won't increase. When you increase the square of the voltage alone, you will notice that the power is again increasing. Okay? Now look at this variation of the on-chip clock frequency with that of the year of production. Here you will notice F keeps on increasing to keep the power higher. So what does it mean? heat dissipation will also be higher. Okay. The second is the supply voltage. The supply voltage this has been decreased over the years and for every advanced regulation of ITRS also, but it is noticed that though V is reduced, we are not able to reduce the power. Why? Because the influence of the frequency is more on the power compared to that of V, right? So though we have gradually brought down the voltage velocity, still we are not able to manage the power value. Okay, so that is what is understood here. Okay, now coming to the exact fact. Although we have decreased V, we are not able to maintain the power. That is, we are not able to reduce the heat. That is point number one. Suppose I am not attending to this situation of managing the heat and dissipating the heat. What will happen? This is what will happen. Your egg is going to boil on your chip. Right? So that much heat is going to be generated and your system or whatever equipment it is going to be trashed. Right? So this heat properly should be removed. In other words, I'll have to maintain the temperature inside the